The fluorescent lights of Greenway Market hum faintly overhead. Shoppers push carts lazily down the aisles, but tension suddenly crackles near the self-checkout lanes. Two uniformed officers storm through the automatic doors, their radios buzzing. Their eyes lock on a young black woman standing by the produce section, scanning items into a reusable bag. She's dressed in jeans and a navy hoodie, hair neatly tied back, posture calm. But to the officers, she's already guilty. "There she is," Officer Grant mutters, adjusting his belt. His partner, Officer Miller, nods, hand hovering near his cuffs. They approach quickly, voices raised to draw attention. "Ma'am, step away from the bag," Grant barks. The woman blinks, startled. "Excuse me? We got a call," Miller snaps. "Suspicious activity. You're under investigation for shoplifting." Gasps ripple through nearby shoppers. Phones rise instantly, recording. The woman frowns but doesn't move. "I paid for everything. You can check the receipts." Grant doesn't bother. He grabs her wrist roughly, twisting it behind her back. "Save it for the station." "Wait, stop!" she protests. "I haven't stolen anything." The crowd murmurs. One man shouts, "She didn't take anything. I saw her scan it all." Another woman yells, "This is harassment," but the officers ignore them, eager to display control. Miller pulls out handcuffs, snapping them around her wrists with unnecessary force. "Name?" he demands. Her eyes flash with restrained anger. "Why don't you run my ID? You'll find out soon enough." Grant sneers. "Don't get smart with me." He shoves her forward toward the doors. The phones follow, recording every second. Outside, the evening air is cool, but tension burns hotter than ever. The officers push her against the hood of their cruiser, patting her down while she grits her teeth. "You're making a mistake," she says firmly. Miller smirks. "They all say that." A crowd gathers in the parking lot now, drawn by the commotion. Dozens of phones film, some live streaming. "This is racial profiling," one man shouts. "Let her go." The officers don't care. Grant radios in. One female, black, resisting arrest. Suspected theft. The words sting, deliberate exaggeration to justify their aggression. The woman shakes her head. "You don't even know who I am." Grant chuckles. "Doesn't matter. Tonight you're just another criminal." But she doesn't cower. Even cuffed, even pinned, she holds herself with calm authority. "You're about to regret those words." The crowd gasps, sensing a twist. Phones zoom closer. Comments on the live stream pour in. "She's too calm for this to be normal. Something's up. Watch these cops get wrecked." Within minutes, more squad cars arrive, called by Grant's exaggerated report. But among them is a plainclothes officer, badge flashing from his belt. He steps out, confusion in his eyes. "What's going on here?" he demands. Grant smirks. "Caught a thief red-handed." The plainclothes officer frowns. He knows the woman. Recognition flickers across his face. "Are you serious? Do you even know who this is?" Grant scoffs. "Some shoplifter who thinks she's clever." The plainclothes officer steps closer, lowering his voice but loud enough for the cameras. "That's Captain Alicia Monroe, off duty. She outranks both of you by miles." The words slice through the air like a blade. The crowd erupts in shock, shouts echoing across the lot. Phones capture every second. Grant's face drains of color. Miller stumbles back, stammering. What?" Alicia Monroe straightens, cuffs still cutting into her wrists, her eyes burning with quiet fury. "You heard him. I'm Captain Monroe, Atlanta PD, and you two just assaulted your superior officer in front of half the city on camera." The crowd explodes, cheers mixing with outrage. "She's a captain," someone yells. "They're done." Grant fumbles for his radio, but the plainclothes officer snatches it away. "Don't even try. This is already out there." Alicia lifts her chin, her voice steady. "Take these cuffs off, now." Miller's hands tremble as he fumbles with the keys, unlocking her wrists. She rubs her hands slowly, glaring at them. "You wanted to humiliate me? Congratulations. You just humiliated yourselves, your department, and this entire city." Cameras zoom in. The livestream viewer count skyrockets. Within minutes, hashtags begin trending. Captain Monroe, #justice. In uniform, #racist cops. Alicia steps forward, addressing the crowd. "This is why we fight for accountability. This is why reform matters. Because arrogance in a badge is still arrogance." The cheers grow louder, drowning out the officer's stammered excuses. And as the night deepens, one truth becomes clear. Arrogance thought it had the upper hand, but dignity just revealed its rank. The parking lot outside Greenway Market is chaos. Shoppers cluster in groups, murmuring in disbelief. Car horns blare as traffic snarls around the spectacle. Everyone with a phone has their camera pointed at the same scene. 2 officers humiliated, and 1 woman, calm, strong, and free of cuffs, standing taller than ever. Captain Alicia Monroe takes a slow breath, rubbing her wrists where the metal had bitten. She doesn't shout, doesn't gloat, she simply stands, her dignity sharper than any words. The plainclothes officer, Detective Harris, steps closer. His voice is firm, cutting through the noise. "Captain Monroe, do you want them taken in now?" The crowd hushes instantly. Grant and Miller freeze, sweat dripping under their collars. Their arrogance is cracking into panic. Alicia studies them carefully, her eyes cold but controlled. "No," she says at last. "Not yet. They'll answer where it matters most. Inside the department." Gasps ripple through the bystanders. Phones capture every syllable. She isn't letting them off the hook. She's just choosing her battlefield. Grant clears his throat, trying to salvage control. "Captain, it was a misunderstanding." "Silence!" Alicia cuts him off. Her tone is sharp, commanding. "You accused me publicly, used force without cause, and humiliated a citizen you never bothered to identify properly. Don't insult me by calling it a misunderstanding." Miller stammers, We got a call. You got a prejudice," Alicia fires back, "and you acted on it." The crowd erupts, cheers drowning out the officer's excuses. "Tell them, Captain," someone shouts. Another voice rises. "This is justice." Detective Harris signals for backup units to stand down. He leans close to Alicia. "Ma'am, we should move you away from here. This is going viral fast." Alicia nods slightly but addresses the cameras one last time. "This isn't just about me, it's about every person treated as guilty before proven innocent. Tonight, you all saw what arrogance in a uniform looks like, but you also saw what dignity does. It doesn't bow." The crowd roars, chanting her name. "Monroe! Monroe!" She allows Harris to escort her toward his unmarked car. As she slides into the passenger seat, her phone buzzes non-stop. Messages from colleagues, friends, and reporters flood in. She silences it. "Let the video speak for itself," she murmurs. Across town, in precinct headquarters, chaos reigns. Dispatchers watch the live stream numbers climb into the millions. Officers gather around screens, some horrified, others grimly satisfied. One whispers, "They messed with the wrong person." Another mutters, "Career suicide." Inside his office, the deputy chief paces furiously. "2 of my men put cuffs on a captain, in public, on camera?" His assistant nods, pale. "It's everywhere, sir. Hashtags trending, news outlets already picking it up." The deputy chief slams his fist on the desk. "Call internal affairs. First thing in the morning, I want reports on my desk. Those 2 just set this department back 20 years. Meanwhile, Grant and Miller sit in their cruiser, faces pale, hands shaking. The radios crackle with chatter, but neither speaks. Finally, Miller mutters, "We're finished." Grant's jaw tightens. "Not if we spin it. We say she provoked us, that she hid her identity. Miller cuts him off, his voice breaking. "Grant, the whole city saw. We're done." At home, Alicia sinks into her couch, exhaustion finally hitting. The adrenaline fades, replaced by the sting of humiliation. Not her humiliation, theirs. But the weight of what it means presses on her chest. She whispers to herself, if this is what they do to one of their own, what chance does anyone else have? Her phone buzzes again. This time it's her brother, Marcus. "Sis, I saw the video. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she assures him. "You didn't look fine. They slammed you around like you were nothing." She closes her eyes. "That's the point, Marcus. To them, I was nothing. And that's exactly why this fight matters." Silence lingers. Then Marcus says softly, "Then fight louder." The world's listening now. By midnight, the video tops 5 million views. News anchors dissect the footage, freezing frames of Grant's grip on her wrist, Miller's cuffs snapping shut, Alicia's calm declaration of rank. Commentators call it a reckoning moment for policing in America. Civil rights leaders speak out by dawn. "This is what we've said all along," one declares on national television. "If this is how they treat a captain, imagine how they treat ordinary citizens with no power at all." In neighborhoods across Atlanta, vigils begin spontaneously. People gather with candles, chanting justice for Alicia, though she never asked for it. To them, she represents more than a captain. She represents every voice long ignored. Back at headquarters, Internal Affairs prepares for the storm. Investigators line up interviews, pulling body cam footage, drafting suspension notices. The department braces for fallout. And Alicia? She sits at her kitchen table, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. Her wrists still ache, but her resolve burns stronger than ever. "They thought they caught a thief," she whispers. Instead, they revealed the truth. Because arrogance thought it had arrested dignity. But dignity had the badge all along. Morning breaks over Atlanta, but the city isn't waking to routine news. Every major station leads with the same footage. Two white officers slamming a black woman into a cruiser, accusing her of shoplifting. The twist, that the woman is Captain Alicia Monroe, one of the department's highest-ranking off-duty officers, turns the story into a firestorm. On talk shows, anchors shake their heads. "How does this happen inside the same department?" one asks. Another replies, "Because arrogance doesn't care about rank, only about power." By noon, the video has reached 20 million views. Hashtags dominate. Justice. For Alicia, #racist cops, #dignity. In uniform. Memes be spread, contrasting Alicia's calm authority with the officers' flustered faces when her rank was revealed. Inside headquarters, the tension is suffocating. Internal Affairs investigators swarm the building, pulling files, collecting statements. The deputy chief calls an emergency meeting. "We can't spin this, we can't bury it, the whole world is watching." Some officers mutter about betrayal, others about justice. One young patrolman whispers, "She handled it with more dignity cuffed than they did free." Meanwhile, Alicia arrives at headquarters flanked by Detective Harris and two Internal Affairs officers. Cameras flash outside as reporters shout questions. "Captain Monroe, do you plan to press charges? What message do you have for the public?" She doesn't stop. She doesn't answer. Her silence, calm and deliberate, speaks louder than any statement. Inside, she sits across from the Internal Affairs panel. Three stern faces, folders stacked before them. "Captain Monroe, thank you for coming. We want your account." Her voice is steady, measured. "I entered Greenway Market last night. I scanned and bagged my groceries. Two officers approached without probable cause, accused me of theft, and placed me in handcuffs. They ignored my request to see receipts and escalated force in front of dozens of witnesses. At no point did they verify my identity. Only after Detective Harris arrived was my rank acknowledged." The lead investigator nods. "Do you believe race played a role?" Alicia's eyes harden. "I don't just believe it, I know it. Would they have treated an off-duty white officer in jeans and a hoodie the same way? We both know the answer." The room falls silent. The words hang heavy, undeniable. By afternoon, the department issues a statement. Two officers have been placed on immediate suspension pending investigation. Captain Monroe has our full support. But the public isn't satisfied. Crowds gather outside precinct doors, chanting, "Fire them now!" In neighborhoods across Atlanta, families sit glued to their TVs. Parents explain to children, "That's what we've been talking about." Activists organize marches. Churches ring their bells. At home, Alicia sits with her brother Marcus again. The TV blares commentary, but he mutes it. "You know what's coming, right?" he says softly. "What?" she asks. "They're going to make you the face of this. Every reform, every headline, it's going to fall on you now." Alicia sighs, running her hand through her hair. "I didn't ask for that." "No," Marcus replies. "But you earned it, and whether you want it or not, people see you as the proof that dignity can stand up to arrogance." She leans back, staring at the ceiling. "Then I can't let them down." The next morning, Alicia returns to work. Whispers ripple through the precinct as she walks the halls. Some avert their eyes in shame, others nod in respect. She carries herself with the same calm authority as always, but now every step feels heavier. Every glance a reminder that the city is watching. In a closed-door meeting, the deputy chief levels with her. "Captain, this department is on fire. Trust is gone. We need you to speak, to lead. You don't just outrank those two, you represent the opposite of everything they showed." Alicia straightens. "Then I'll speak, but I won't cover for them. If this department wants dignity, it has to earn it." That evening, she holds her first press conference. Cameras crowd the podium, microphones thrust forward. She stands tall, her navy uniform crisp, her badge gleaming under the lights. "I was accused, I was cuffed, I was humiliated," she begins, her voice clear. Not because of evidence, but because of arrogance. Last night you saw it for yourselves. But let me be clear, this is not about me alone. This is about every person treated as guilty before proven innocent. This is about every citizen whose dignity has been cut down by prejudice. The crowd listens in silence, hanging on every word. But understand this, Alicia continues, arrogance does not define this department. We will hold those officers accountable. We will rebuild trust, and we will prove that dignity, not arrogance, wears the badge in Atlanta. Applause erupts. Reporters shout questions, but her statement has already made history. Clips of her speech flood the internet, captions reading, "Dignity speaks louder than arrogance." Inside his apartment, Grant watches the press conference on TV, his face pale. "She's turning the whole city against us," he mutters. Miller shakes his head, voice breaking. "No, Grant, we turn the city against ourselves. Because arrogance thought it could arrest dignity in a grocery store, but dignity just put arrogance on trial in front of the world." The fallout from Captain Alicia Monroe's press conference ripples through the city like a shockwave. Overnight, her words trend worldwide. Clips of her standing tall at the podium, declaring that dignity, not arrogance, wears the badge, circulate across every platform. By dawn, even international outlets run the story. At Greenway Market, shoppers leave flowers at the checkout lanes, taping handwritten notes to the wall. "We believe you, Captain. Dignity lives here." Employees tape her photo near the entrance, a quiet symbol of resistance against injustice. But inside the precinct, tension crackles. Officers whisper in corridors, some in support, some in resentment. "She embarrassed the department," one grumbles. Another shoots back, "No, she saved it. Without her, we'd all be drowning right now." In the deputy chief's office, a storm brews. He slams a file onto his desk. The governor's calling, city council's calling, even Washington is calling. They all want answers. We can't dodge this. Internal affairs investigators move swiftly. They seize Grant and Miller's body cams, interview witnesses, comb through radio transcripts. The evidence piles up quickly, and it's damning. The officers never checked receipts, ignored witnesses, exaggerated their report, and cuffed a captain without probable cause. Grant sits in a cramped room, sweat trickling down his neck as the investigator presses. "Why didn't you verify her ID?" He stammers. "She looked suspicious." "Suspicious how?" Grant can't answer. Silence fills the room. Miller fares no better. His excuses crumble under the weight of video footage and eyewitness testimony. Both men realize the truth. There is no spinning this. Meanwhile, Alicia doesn't rest. She meets with civil rights leaders, faith groups, and community activists. They all tell her the same thing. "You gave us a voice." At a community center packed with families, she stands at the front, no podium, no uniform, just her in plain clothes. "What happened to me wasn't unique," she tells them. "The only difference is that I wear a badge too. And if they can do this to me, they can do it to anyone. That's why we won't stay silent." The crowd erupts in applause, some in tears. For the first time, people see a police captain speaking with them, not at them. Across town, Grant and Miller's union scrambles to mount a defense. At a press conference, the union rep claims, "Our officers were following protocol. This was a misunderstanding." But the public isn't buying it. Reporters hammer the rep with questions. What protocol justifies cuffing a captain without ID verification? What misunderstanding explains calling a citizen resisting when cameras show she complied? The story spirals further. Civil rights lawyers announce they're preparing lawsuits on behalf of Alicia and community members harassed by similar false accusations. The mayor holds an emergency briefing, her voice stern. "Atlanta will not tolerate this behavior. Reform is coming." Inside her apartment, Alicia watches the coverage, exhaustion heavy in her bones. Marcus sits across from her, worry etched on his face. "Sis, they've made you the face of this. You sure you're ready?" She exhales slowly. "I didn't ask for it, but if dignity needs a face, I won't look away." That night, vigils spread across the city. Families gather with candles, chanting her words. Arrogance doesn't define this department, dignity does. Hashtags turn into posters. Children write her quotes in chalk on sidewalks. In Washington, lawmakers debate her case. One senator declares on the floor, "This moment is not about one woman. It's about a system that believes arrogance is authority." Captain Monroe is showing us a better way. At the precinct the next morning, Alicia returns in uniform. The building is hushed as she walks through the halls. Officers glance up, some with shame, others with pride. She doesn't slow, doesn't flinch. Her presence alone is a statement. I belong here, and I will not bow. The deputy chief calls her into his office. Captain, you've got the public's trust, but inside these walls, you're making enemies. Be careful. She meets his eyes. I'm not here to win friends. I'm here to fix what's broken. If that makes me enemies, so be it. By afternoon, Internal Affairs announces preliminary findings. Grant and Miller violated procedure, fabricated reports, and engaged in racial profiling. Both are suspended indefinitely pending termination hearings. The news spreads like wildfire. Crowds gather outside headquarters, cheering as the announcement blares over car radios. Accountability at last, someone shouts. Grant watches the coverage from his apartment, pale and furious. They threw us under the bus, he mutters. Miller sits slumped, shaking his head. No, Grant, we threw ourselves under the bus. Meanwhile, Alicia prepares for what comes next. She knows accountability for 2 officers won't fix a broken culture. Reform must go deeper. She spreads folders across her desk. Proposals for body cam transparency, community oversight boards, and mandatory training. Marcus calls her late that night. You're planning again, aren't you? She smiles faintly. Always. Because if we stop at firing 2 men, arrogance will grow right back. But if we change the roots, dignity will last. She hangs up, staring out her window at the city skyline glowing against the night. Because arrogance thought suspensions would quiet the storm, but dignity has only just begun to roar. The suspension of Grant and Miller doesn't end the storm, it feeds it. Atlanta buzzes with debate. On talk radio, callers rage. Some defend the officers, claiming they were just doing their jobs, while others argue the suspensions are not enough. Civil rights groups demand terminations, lawsuits, and sweeping reform. At City Hall, council members scramble. The public wants blood, one warns. Another replies, they don't want blood, they want accountability. And if we don't deliver, they'll take it to the streets. In neighborhoods across the city, residents gather nightly. Vigils turn into rallies. People march with candles and posters of Alicia's words. Arrogance doesn't define us, dignity does. Children carry chalk and scrawl the phrase on sidewalks outside schools. Meanwhile, Alicia sits in her office, files spread across her desk. She reads every citizen complaint submitted in the last 6 months. Each one feels personal now. She whispers to herself, every voice matters. Every voice will be heard. Detective Harris knocks on her door. Captain, you haven't slept. She looks up with tired eyes. I'll sleep when arrogance stops breathing. He frowns but doesn't argue. At least let us help. The community trusts you, but they need to see structure too. A plan. Alicia slides him a folder. Then let's give them one. Oversight boards, public forums, body cam transparency. This isn't just punishment, it's prevention. By midweek, the mayor holds a press conference. Standing beside Alicia, she announces the creation of an independent review board made up of civilians. Reporters lean forward, shocked. For the first time, citizens will hold police accountable directly, the mayor says. Alicia steps to the microphone. Last week, arrogance thought it could cuff me without cause. But arrogance doesn't just live in 2 officers. It lives in every unchecked system. From today forward, this city says no more. Dignity will be the standard. The crowd erupts. Hashtags trend. Had dignity. Standard. Hashtag accountability. Now. But inside the department, backlash simmers. In the locker room, a group of veteran officers grumble. She's making us look weak. She's pandering to the cameras. This isn't policing, it's politics. One younger officer finally speaks. No, this is what we should have been all along. The room falls silent. For the first time, division within the ranks is visible. That night, Alicia attends a community town hall. The gymnasium is packed. Parents, teachers, teenagers, reporters. When she steps up to the microphone, the room quiets instantly. I was humiliated in front of cameras, cuffed for a crime I didn't commit, she begins. But my story isn't unique. Too many of you have lived this without the rank or the badge to defend yourselves. That ends now. This department serves you, not arrogance, not power, you. Applause erupts. A mother stands, tears streaming. My son was profiled last year. He still won't walk to the store alone. Captain, you give me hope. Alicia's voice softens. Then tell him this. Dignity is his right, and we will fight until he can walk free without fear. The hall roars with cheers. Phones record every second. By morning, clips flood social media, captions reading, "She speaks for us." Meanwhile, Grant and Miller stew in silence. Confined to their apartments under suspension, they watch Alicia's speeches dominate the news. Miller whispers, "We're done." Grant slams his fist against the table. "Not if we fight back. She's turning this into her empire. Maybe we take our story public too." But their union refuses to back them. "You're toxic now," the rep says bluntly. "The city's made up its mind. You're on your own." Their isolation grows. They once held power through fear. Now they hold nothing at all. At headquarters, Alicia meets with her staff. She unveils the next phase: community ride-alongs where citizens can patrol with officers and witness their work firsthand. If trust is broken, she explains, then transparency is the glue. Some officers groan, but others nod. Lieutenant Brooks, her longtime ally, adds, "If you don't want citizens seeing how you do your job, maybe you shouldn't be wearing the badge." The reform rolls out quickly. Within days, residents flood sign-up lists. Families ride along, asking questions, filming their experiences. Positive stories dominate headlines. "For the first time, I felt safe with police," one teenager says in a TV interview. Alicia sits in her office late that night, scrolling through the stories. Her eyes sting with exhaustion, but her heart steadies. This is what dignity looks like. Yet even as change takes root, threats grow louder. Anonymous emails flood her inbox. "Step down or else. You'll regret this." One arrives with a chilling message. "Next time, no cameras." She forwards it to Internal Affairs, then leans back, staring at the city skyline outside her window. Fear pricks at her, but resolve hardens stronger. She whispers to herself, "I will not bow," because arrogance thought suspensions would kill the movement, but dignity has only sharpened its edge. And the battle for justice has just begun. The threats arrive daily now. Some come as anonymous emails, others as handwritten notes slipped under her office door. Most are crude, slurs scribbled in anger, typed rants from faceless cowards. But a few are chillingly precise. Details about her schedule, places she's been, warnings like, "Next rally is your last." Internal Affairs insists on upping security. 2 plainclothes officers shadow Alicia whenever she leaves headquarters. She bristles at the precaution. "If I walk with guards, people will think dignity hides behind protection," she tells Brooks. Brooks shakes his head. "No, Captain, they'll think dignity is worth protecting. There's a difference." Still, she compromises. The guards follow at a distance, close enough to act, far enough not to smother. Meanwhile, the reforms gather momentum. The first Community Oversight Board holds its inaugural meeting downtown. Citizens pack the auditorium, teachers, pastors, shop owners, even high school students. For the first time in the city's history, civilians sit across from uniformed officers with the power to review complaints. Alicia watches from the back row, her chest tight with pride. A teenager stands and says, "Last year, I stopped reporting things because I thought no one cared. Now I feel like I finally have a voice." The room bursts into applause. For Alicia, it's confirmation. The movement isn't just surviving, it's thriving. But inside the department, resistance festers. Some veterans feel betrayed, stripped of their unchecked authority. In locker rooms and break rooms, mutters spread. "She's turned us into punching bags. She's not one of us anymore." One sergeant goes further. In a private meeting, he tells his squad, "Watch yourselves. Carter might wear the same badge, but she's building a department for them, not for us." Word of his remarks reaches Alicia within hours. She summons him to her office. Her tone is icy calm. "Sergeant, you seem to have forgotten the first rule of this badge. It belongs to the people. If you can't serve with dignity, you won't serve at all. Consider this your warning. There won't be another." The sergeant leaves pale, muttering under his breath. That evening, Alicia attends another vigil at Riverton Plaza. Candles dot the steps like stars. Children carry posters, families sing softly. When she takes the stage, the crowd quiets instantly. "Arrogance thought humiliation could break us," she begins. "It thought threats could scare us. But look around you, are we broken?" "No," the crowd roars. "Are we silent?" "Never." Then let them write their threats. Let them whisper in shadows, because dignity does not bow to fear. Dignity stands, and tonight, so do we. The chant rises again. Not invisible, strong. Phones capture the moment. Live streams broadcast it worldwide. Back at headquarters, Grant watches from his apartment. Suspended, bitter, he scrolls through social media with clenched fists. Clips of Alicia's speech flood his feed. Each one twists the knife. Miller, slouched on the couch beside him, mutters, "It's over, Grant, let it go." But Grant shakes his head. "She destroyed us. She won't stop until she's destroyed the whole force." Miller looks away, ashamed. "No, we destroyed ourselves." Grant doesn't listen. He logs into an online forum filled with Hale loyalists. Messages scroll fast. Carter's turning cops into cowards. She needs to be stopped. His fingers hover over the keyboard. He types 4 words. "I want her gone." Meanwhile, Alicia receives a late-night call. It's the mayor. "Captain, Washington is watching. Other cities are calling your model a blueprint. You've turned a scandal into a revolution." Alicia exhales, her voice steady. "Then we keep building. Because arrogance doesn't vanish with 2 suspensions. It lurks, it waits. And if we don't keep moving, it will rise again." The mayor pauses. "Are you ready for that kind of fight? Because this won't stay local." Alicia's answer is simple. "I've been ready since the night they cuffed me." The next day, the department rolls out bias and dignity training. Every officer, rookie or veteran, must attend. The first sessions are tense. Some roll their eyes, others scoff. But Alicia doesn't waver. She sits in the front row, participating alongside rookies. Her presence makes mockery impossible. During one session, a young officer admits, "I never realized how many assumptions I made until I saw myself on roleplay video. It's ugly." Alicia nods. "Then you've already won the first battle, acknowledging it. Now fight the next one, change." Clips of her in training circulate online. Commentators note, when the captain sits with rookies, it's not just reform, it's culture shift. But with every victory, the shadows grow louder. Emails arrive with chilling clarity. "Next rally, next stage, next time you won't walk away." Brooks urges her to cancel appearances. Alicia refuses. "If I hide, the movement hides with me, and dignity never hides." That Friday, Riverton Plaza fills again. FBI agents scan rooftops. Plainclothes officers mix into the crowd. Alicia walks onto the stage, her candle burning bright. She holds it high, her voice steady. "They think fear will chase us home, but fear is not here. Fear cannot live in the light. And tonight, Atlanta is nothing but light." The crowd roars, voices echoing into the night sky. Because arrogance thought threats would scatter the people. But dignity turned threats into fuel, and the fire is only growing. Saturday morning dawns with a sense of unease. Though Alicia Monroe's words from the plaza still echo in the city's heart, whispers of danger circulate like smoke. The FBI quietly increases surveillance on extremist groups. The chatter is unmistakable. Someone is planning something. Inside headquarters, Alicia briefs her team. Maps and files scatter across the conference table. "The threats are escalating," she says, her tone calm but urgent. "We're not just dealing with cowards online anymore, they're organizing." Brooks leans forward, brow furrowed. "Captain, the chatter isn't vague this time. They mentioned your name, the plaza, and the word final. That's not just noise, that's intent." A hush falls over the room. Officers exchange worried glances. Alicia studies their faces. "Then let them come. We will not cancel vigils. We will not bow to shadows. If arrogance wants a fight, it'll find dignity ready." Later that day, she visits a local high school where students have organized a Youth for Dignity event. The gym is packed, teenagers with homemade banners, teachers standing proudly in the back. When Alicia steps onto the stage, the room erupts in cheers. A student leader hands her the microphone. "Captain Monroe, you showed us that dignity isn't weakness, it's strength. How do we keep that fire alive?" Alicia smiles softly. "By refusing to believe you are invisible, by standing tall when arrogance tells you to shrink. Dignity isn't a badge or a title, it's a choice, and it's one you can make every day." The students chant back her words, "Not invisible, strong." Phones capture it, and within hours, clips trend nationwide. But as her influence grows, so does the fury of those who feel threatened by her. That night, graffiti appears near her apartment building. "Carter out." A crude drawing of a target is sprayed beside her name. Neighbors report it immediately. FBI agents comb the area, but Alicia refuses to be rattled. She looks at the wall, shakes her head, and says, "Paint can't silence truth." The next day, volunteers paint over it with a mural of candles and children holding hands. Meanwhile, Grant spirals deeper into bitterness. Cut off from his union, ignored by former colleagues, he spends his nights in online forums filled with angry men. They celebrate the graffiti, post threats, share dark fantasies. Grant types furiously, "She's destroying the force. Someone has to stop her." Miller, still suspended, watches in silence. "Grant, this is going too far." Grant snarls, "Too far? She humiliated us. She turned the whole country against us. If nobody else acts, I will." Back at headquarters, Alicia unveils the next phase of reform: transparency in promotions. Every advancement must be based on merit, not favoritism or silence. Officers will now be evaluated on community trust scores, complaint records, and accountability. Some applaud, others rage. One veteran slams his locker shut and mutters, "She's dismantling everything." But younger officers whisper, "Finally, fairness." At a press conference, reporters swarm. "Captain Monroe, are you worried about backlash from within your own ranks?" She meets their gaze. Backlash means change is working. If arrogance is angry, dignity is winning. The clip floods social media. Hashtags like #backlash means change trend within hours. That evening, she drives home with Brooks trailing a few cars behind. Her headlights sweep across her driveway and freeze. A brick lies shattered on her porch, glass glittering from a broken window. A note lies taped to the door. "Next time, we won't miss." Brooks rushes to her side. "Captain, this isn't random anymore. They're watching you." Alicia's jaw tightens. "Then let them watch. They'll see I don't scare easy." The FBI sweeps her house, installs extra cameras, and insists on a 24-hour detail. Alicia resists at first, but Brooks finally convinces her. "You can't lead a movement if you're a target in the dark. Let us carry some of this weight." The next vigil arrives, bigger than ever. Thousands pour into Riverton Plaza, undeterred by threats. Families light candles, children hold posters, choirs sing. The air is electric, not with fear, but with resolve. Alicia steps onto the stage, her security detail blending into the crowd. She lifts her candle high. "They say they'll silence us. Look around, are we silent?" "No!" the crowd roars. "They say they'll break us. Look around, are we broken?" "Never!" "Then let them threaten, let them paint walls, let them break windows. Dignity doesn't bow, dignity rises." And tonight, Atlanta rises with it. The plaza shakes with cheers, chants echoing into the night sky. Cameras capture every second, broadcasting it live to the nation. In a dim apartment miles away, Grant watches the live stream, face twisted with rage. He mutters to himself, "She thinks she's untouchable. We'll see." His fingers tighten around a bottle on the table, his eyes burning with obsession, because arrogance thought threats could weaken dignity. But dignity only grew stronger, while arrogance slipped further into darkness. The morning after the massive vigil, Atlanta wakes buzzing. News outlets describe it as the largest show of unity in the city's history. Commentators marvel at Alicia Monroe's ability to stand in the crosshairs of danger yet project strength. But while citizens celebrate, law enforcement circles whisper uneasily. In back rooms and locker halls, resentment festers. Some officers feel exposed, stripped of old power. "She's turned us into suspects," one mutters. Another counters, "No, she's finally making us honest." The divide deepens. At headquarters, Alicia meets with her reform team. Charts and data fill the walls. Complaint numbers dropping, community surveys rising, training completion percentages. Progress is undeniable. Complaints are down 40%, Brooks notes. Public trust at an all-time high. "Captain, the model's working." Alicia nods but remains cautious. Progress makes arrogance desperate. "The more we rise, the louder they'll try to pull us down." Her words prove prophetic. That afternoon, the FBI delivers a dossier. Inside are screenshots of private chat rooms, where Hale loyalists and disillusioned officers vent their rage. The chatter is explicit. "Carter must go. We need to show her she's not untouchable." Brooks slams the folder shut. "Captain, this isn't just chatter anymore. They're scouting locations. The plaza, your house, even headquarters." Alicia exhales slowly. "Then we stay vigilant, but we will not hide. Fear cannot set policy." Meanwhile, Grant sinks further into obsession. Isolated, unemployed, his bitterness boils. He spends hours online, feeding off hate groups that celebrate his defiance. He types furiously, "She destroyed my career. She's destroying the badge. I won't stand by." Replies flood in, "Do something. Be the spark." Miller, visiting reluctantly, tries to intervene. Grant, let it go. It's over. She's bigger than us now. Grant glares at him. No, she's not bigger. She just thinks she is. Someone needs to remind her what happens when arrogance pushes too far. Miller leaves in silence, fear etched on his face. Back in the city, Alicia prepares to roll out her most ambitious reform yet, the Dignity Index. Every officer will be scored not just on arrests or cases closed, but on community trust, transparency, and conduct. The scores will be public. At a packed press conference, she unveils the plan. Reporters gasp. One asks, "Captain Monroe, aren't you worried this will humiliate officers?" Alicia's answer is sharp. Humiliation comes from misconduct, not transparency. If you wear the badge with dignity, you have nothing to hide. The crowd applauds. Within hours, the announcement dominates national news. Commentators call it radical, bold, unprecedented. Civil rights groups cheer. Police unions fume. That night, threats spike. Emails flood her inbox. "You'll regret this. Next rally, you won't walk off the stage." FBI agents double her security. Brooks warns, "Captain, this isn't noise anymore. It's a storm." Still, she refuses to bend. If dignity bows to fear, it dies. And I didn't come this far to watch it die. The following evening, she speaks at a university forum. Students pack the auditorium, hanging on her every word. Arrogance thrives in secrecy. Transparency is its enemy. That's why the Dignity Index matters. It strips arrogance bare. Thunderous applause fills the hall. Clips trend under #strip arrogance bare. But elsewhere, Grant sharpens his anger into action. He meets two men from the forums in a dim bar. They talk in hushed tones about making a statement. One slides a photo across the table. Alicia at Riverton Plaza, candle in hand. "This is where she thinks she's untouchable," the man says. Grant grips the photo, his jaw tight. Then that's where she learns she's not. Meanwhile, Alicia walks her neighborhood late at night, escorted by FBI agents. Neighbors greet her with respect, some offering candles, others notes of encouragement. One elderly woman presses her hand gently. "Baby, don't let the shadows scare you. You shine too bright." Alicia smiles softly. "That's exactly why they try, ma'am, but they'll fail." Back at headquarters, she gathers her closest allies. "They're planning something bigger," Brooks warns. "We have chatter about a disruption at the next vigil." Alicia looks around the room, steady and resolute. "Then we prepare. But we will not cancel. If we let them stop one vigil, they'll stop them all. And dignity doesn't cancel itself." The next vigil arrives. Riverton Plaza glows brighter than ever. Families fill the square, candles flickering in the breeze. FBI agents and undercover officers blend into the crowd. The atmosphere hums with both joy and tension. Alicia steps onto the stage, holding her candle high. Her voice cuts through the night. "They think threats will chase us away. They think darkness will swallow our light. But tonight, look around. Do you see darkness here? No!" The crowd roars. "Do you see fear here? Never!" Then let them whisper. Let them plot. Because dignity does not whisper, it roars. And tonight, Atlanta roars with it. The plaza erupts, chants shaking the city. But in the shadows, Grant watches from the edge of the crowd, his eyes locked on her. His hands tremble, not with fear but with obsession. Because arrogance thought it could fade quietly. But arrogance has chosen to fight back. And dignity is about to face its greatest test. The vigil ends in thunderous chants, but Alicia Monroe doesn't relax. As she steps down from the stage, candle still in hand, she feels the weight of eyes following her. The FBI detail closes in, guiding her toward a waiting car. Yet even through the noise of the crowd, she senses something darker brewing at the edges. Brooks walks beside her, scanning the crowd. "Captain, something's off. Too many eyes in the shadows." She nods subtly, whispering, "Stay sharp." Across the plaza, Grant lingers in the shadows, jaw tight, hands trembling. He isn't alone. Two men from the forum stand with him, their faces hard. One mutters, "Now's the moment." Grant's heart pounds, but he hesitates. He sees Alicia, calm, strong, surrounded by citizens chanting her words, and for a flicker of a second, doubt pierces his rage. But then the crowd surges with louder chants. "Not invisible! Strong!" The sound feels like mockery to him. He grips his jacket tighter. Suddenly, an undercover FBI agent spots him. "Got him," the agent whispers into his mic. Within seconds, plainclothes officers converge. Grant notices too late. A hand clamps his arm. He jerks, trying to break free. "Let me go! She ruined everything!" he shouts. The crowd gasps as the struggle spills into the open. Cameras whip around, phones recording. Grant thrashes, yelling, "She's the reason the force is dying. She deserves this." But he's outnumbered. Agents pin him to the ground, wrenching his arms behind his back. His face slams against the pavement as cuffs snap shut. A hush ripples through the crowd, then outrage. "Who is he?" someone yells. Another shouts, "He's one of them! He came to hurt her!" Alicia steps forward, holding her candle high. The cameras zoom in. Her voice is calm, resolute. This is what arrogance looks like when it's cornered. Angry, reckless, desperate. But arrogance cannot stop us. Not tonight, not ever. The crowd erupts, chants drowning out Grant's curses as agents drag him away. By morning, the footage is everywhere. Headlines scream, "Suspended officer arrested at vigil plot." News anchors replay the moment Grant was taken down, his rage-filled words echoing across screens. Commentators call it the mask slipping on arrogance. At headquarters, the deputy chief gathers the command staff. "This just confirmed everything Monroe's been saying," he growls. "We have rot in our ranks, and it nearly turned deadly." Internal Affairs launches a full sweep. Files are pulled, chat logs traced, officers questioned. The investigation widens beyond Grant. More names surface. Officers tied to extremist forums, men who whispered in locker rooms about putting Carter in her place. Brooks updates Alicia late that night. "We've identified at least 8 more tied to Grant's circle. They weren't just talking, they were planning." Alicia leans back in her chair, exhaustion heavy, but resolve sharper than ever. "Then we root it out. All of it. Every last shadow." The next day, she addresses the press. Cameras flash as she speaks with unwavering authority. "Last night, arrogance tried to walk among us again, but dignity was louder. Let me be clear. If you wear this badge and you plot in darkness, your time is over. We will clean house, we will rebuild, and Atlanta will not bow to fear." The applause from the crowd outside is deafening. Hashtags trend instantly. #CleanHouse, #NotInvisibleStrong, but backlash grows louder too. National police unions release statements condemning her reforms as overreach. Talk show pundits sneer, calling her a politician in uniform. One even mutters, if she hates the badge so much, she should take it off. Alicia doesn't flinch. In an interview that evening, she answers calmly, "I don't hate the badge. I hate arrogance hiding behind it, and I'll keep fighting until the badge means dignity again." The quote goes viral, spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Grant sits in a federal holding cell, his career gone, his rage festering. Reporters speculate about charges, conspiracy, threats against a federal officer, attempted disruption of public assembly. His mugshot splashes across front pages, the once arrogant officer reduced to a symbol of disgrace. But Alicia doesn't celebrate. She knows the fight is bigger than one man. At the next community forum, she tells citizens, "Don't mistake one arrest for victory. Arrogance is stubborn. It waits for silence. And we cannot be silent." The crowd responds with thunderous applause. At home, Marcus calls her, his voice worried. "Sis, they came for you once. What if they try again?" She exhales slowly. "Then I'll face it again, because if I step back, dignity steps back, and we can't afford that." The following week, FBI agents reveal more. One of Grant's accomplices was a former officer dismissed years ago for brutality. Another is a known extremist with ties to militia groups. The plot was deeper than anyone imagined. Brooks slams the file shut in her office. "This wasn't just anger, this was coordination. You're not just a target, Captain, you're a symbol." Alicia looks out her window at the skyline glowing against the night. "Good," she says quietly. "Symbols live longer than shadows." Because arrogance thought chaos would silence dignity, but chaos only revealed its weakness, while dignity stood taller than ever. The arrest of Grant and his accomplices sends tremors through Atlanta. For many, it feels like justice. For others, it confirms fears that the police department has long been a breeding ground for arrogance and hate. Morning news cycles replay the footage endlessly. Grant screaming in the plaza, agents pinning him to the ground, Alicia Monroe raising her candle and declaring, "Arrogance cannot stop us." The clip becomes iconic. Commentators call it the line that broke the silence. But inside headquarters, unease spreads. Internal Affairs officers move from desk to desk. interviewing, confiscating devices, demanding explanations. Some officers welcome the purge. Others whisper angrily that the department is eating its own. In the briefing room, Alicia addresses her command staff. This is not about politics. This is survival. If arrogance lives inside our ranks, we cannot protect anyone outside. We will cut out the rot, no matter how deep. Lieutenant Brooks stands at her side, backing her fully. Anyone who resists transparency resists the badge itself. If you're hiding something, expect to be found. The room is tense, but no one dares speak against her. Not now, not after Grant's fall. Meanwhile, communities rally behind Alicia. Vigils continue nightly, but now they double as celebrations of resilience. Families carry signs not only with Alicia's quotes, but with their own. My dignity matters. We are not invisible. One evening, Alicia visits a small church where members have gathered to honor her. A pastor leads her to the pulpit. Captain, you turned humiliation into hope. We thank you. Alicia shakes her head softly. No, you turned it into hope. I just refuse to let arrogance write the last word. The congregation rises, chanting, not invisible. Strong. Their voices echo off the rafters like thunder. But outside the city, resistance stiffens. National police unions call for her resignation, accusing her of weaponizing reform. Commentators on cable networks deride her as a radical in uniform. One sneers, she's building a cult, not a department. Alicia watches the coverage late at night, exhaustion etched into her face. Marcus calls, worry heavy in his voice. They're trying to break you, sis. Don't let them. She smiles faintly. They can try, but arrogance always overplays its hand, and when it does, dignity grows louder. The next morning, FBI agents brief her on disturbing findings. Some of Grant's online contacts weren't just disgruntled officers, they had ties to national extremist networks. One agent warns, Captain, you're on their radar. You're not just a local target anymore. Brooks slams his fist on the table. So what's the plan? Increased security? Federal detail? The agent nods. Yes, and more. We need to consider restricting your public appearances. Alicia shakes her head firmly. No. If I disappear, fear wins. Every candle in that plaza will go dark. I won't let that happen. The room falls silent. Her resolve is unshakable. That weekend, Alicia attends another vigil. Riverton Plaza glows again. Thousands gathered. She steps onto the stage, her voice steady. They tell me I should hide. They tell me I should cancel. But dignity does not cancel. Dignity does not hide. Tonight, I stand here because you stand here. And together, we prove that light is stronger than any shadow. The crowd roars, chanting louder than ever. But among the faces, a man watches intently. Not Grant, he's behind bars, but another from the same circle, still free. He studies Alicia carefully, slipping back into the shadows. The FBI notices him too late. Cameras catch his image, but he vanishes before agents can move. The next day, the photo circulates inside FBI offices. He's one of Grant's associates, an agent confirms. We may have more trouble coming. Alicia reads the report, her jaw tight. Then we stay ready, but we will not bow. Meanwhile, change continues inside the department. The Dignity Index goes live, posting the first officer scores online. Citizens click eagerly, shocked by the transparency. Officers with clean records beam with pride. Those with histories of complaints shrink under scrutiny. Reporters swarm headquarters demanding reactions. Alicia meets them head-on. This is accountability. This is what policing should look like. And if that makes some uncomfortable, good. Change is never comfortable. Her words trend instantly. Change is never comfortable. Across the nation, cities take note. Mayors call Atlanta's mayor, asking for blueprints. Civil rights leaders hail Alicia as a pioneer. Critics seethe louder, but their fury only proves her impact. At home, Alicia finally allows herself a moment of rest. She sits on her balcony, candle burning beside her, the city lights shimmering. She thinks back to that night in the grocery store, cuffed, humiliated, dismissed. She whispers to herself, they thought they arrested me, but they freed something bigger. Because arrogance thought it could put dignity in chains. But dignity broke free, and now it was leading a city. The release of the first Dignity Index scores rocks Atlanta. Citizens pour over the online reports late into the night. For the first time, they see which officers carry clean records and which ones bear stains of misconduct. A mother in South Atlanta scrolls on her phone, tears in her eyes. "That's the one who harassed my son," she whispers, pointing to an officer with multiple complaints. "And now everyone knows." Meanwhile, officers with spotless scores feel vindicated. A young patrolwoman beams as she shows her parents her ranking. "Finally, the good work counts," she says proudly. But for others, the shame cuts deep. In locker rooms across the department, murmurs echo. Some slam their lockers shut in frustration. "She humiliated us," one mutters. Another spits back, "No, your record humiliated you." Inside her office, Alicia reviews the fallout with Brooks and internal affairs. "The city is buzzing," Brooks says, scanning reports. Complaints spiked in the first 24 hours. Not new misconduct, just old voices finally stepping forward. People trust the system now. Alicia nods slowly. "Good. Sunlight makes arrogance squirm. Let it squirm." But the backlash grows. Police unions call emergency meetings. At a televised panel, one union leader snarls, "Captain Monroe is destroying morale. She's turned officers into scapegoats." The host presses, "But isn't transparency what builds trust?" The leader glares at the camera. "Trust doesn't pay bills. Morale keeps us alive." Clips flood social media. Supporters respond instantly. #morale. Is dignity #trust first. The divide sharpens. That evening, Alicia attends another vigil. Riverton Plaza glows with candles once again, but tonight feels different, bigger. News crews from across the country broadcast live. As Alicia steps to the microphone, chants swell. "Not invisible, strong." She raises her hand for silence. "Atlanta, you've made history again. The dignity index isn't perfect, but it is proof. Proof that we don't hide. Proof that we don't fear the truth. Because arrogance lives in darkness, and tonight we light it up." The cheers rattle windows. But as she speaks, Brooks notices movement in the crowd. A man in a dark jacket lingers at the edge, eyes fixed on Alicia. He fits the FBI's photo, the associate who slipped away. Brooks signals to undercover agents, but before they reach him, the man fades into the crowd, vanishing into the night. Back at headquarters, the FBI confirms the sighting. "He's probing," an agent warns. "Testing the waters. This won't be the last time." Alicia leans over the report, voice steel. "The next time we'll be ready." Meanwhile, Grant sits in a federal holding cell, his mugshot splashed across newspapers. He watches TV from the common room as Alicia speaks at the vigil. His face twists with rage. "She's parading while I rot. She thinks she won." Another inmate chuckles. "She did, man. Look around. She's a hero. You're a punchline." Grant lunges, fists flying. Guards drag him away, his shouts echoing down the halls. "This isn't over!" But outside those prison walls, it is over. The world has moved on. Back in Atlanta, Alicia prepares for her next reform, community training councils. Citizens will join officers in training simulations, learning procedures while giving feedback. "If we want trust, Ipusan," she explains, "the people must shape the badge too." Reporters swarm her again. "Captain Monroe, are you worried this goes too far?" She answers calmly, "You cannot go too far with dignity, only not far enough." The quote trends instantly, but inside the department, resentment boils. A group of veterans meet privately, grumbling. "She's dismantling everything we built." One snarls, "She won't stop until she wears the chief's bars herself." Another shakes his head. "She's already the face of this department, whether we like it or not." That night, Alicia returns home late. Exhausted, she lights a candle on her balcony as she always does. The city hums below, alive with chants and murals. She whispers to herself, "They thought they cuffed me, but they freed the fight." Her phone buzzes. Marcus. "Sis, you should sleep." She smiles faintly. "Soon. But first, I need to remind myself, dignity doesn't rest." Meanwhile, far from the city lights, the man in the dark jacket meets with others in a rundown warehouse. "She won't stop," one growls. "Every day she gets stronger." The man places Alicia's photo on the table, eyes cold. "Then we make sure she doesn't see another vigil." Silence follows, heavy and dangerous, because arrogance thought exposure would kill its fire. But arrogance isn't done. It's planning its strike, and dignity is about to face the storm head-on. The warehouse meeting signals a darker turn. The men seated around the table are not merely angry, they are organized. Maps of Riverton Plaza are spread before them, circles drawn in red ink. Photos of Alicia Monroe lie in the center. One mutters, "She's untouchable in the media, but not on the ground." The man in the dark jacket, known only as Carter to his associates, leans forward. We don't need to kill her, we just need to break her. A public strike, a humiliation. If she bleeds, her movement bleeds. The others nod grimly. Plans take shape. Back in Atlanta, Alicia has no idea of the details forming against her, but she feels the pressure tightening. Each day brings fresh threats, some crude, some chillingly precise. She refuses to bend, but the weight is undeniable. At headquarters, Brooks enters her office with a stack of reports. Captain, the chatter's escalating. We've confirmed at least 3 groups working together now. This isn't random, it's coordinated. Alicia's jaw tightens. Then we coordinate harder. I won't cancel vigils, Brooks. If I disappear, arrogance wins. Brooks sighs, but he knows arguing is pointless. Then we'll turn every vigil into a fortress. FBI, local, plainclothes, full coverage. Meanwhile, the Dignity Index continues shaking the department. Officers with high scores beam with pride, finally recognized for integrity. Others stew in shame. Complaints rise not from misconduct, but from veterans angry about their reputations exposed. One evening, Alicia holds a press briefing to address the tension. Reporters crowd the hall, cameras flashing. The Dignity Index isn't about humiliation, she declares. It's about truth. If truth feels like humiliation, that's not on the system. That's on the conduct that created it. The quote trends instantly. Supporters cheer. Critics rage. That night, Alicia attends another community forum, this time at a high school gymnasium. Students crowd the bleachers, parents fill the folding chairs. A teenager raises her hand. Captain Monroe, how do you keep standing when they're trying so hard to break you? Alicia smiles softly. Because every time arrogance tries to push me down, I remember who I'm standing for. I'm standing for you. And as long as you're watching, I can't fall. The room erupts in applause. Clips flood social media under #she stands for us. But shadows creep closer. FBI analysts flag unusual chatter. Final act, next vigil, big stage. The phrase repeats across forums. Agents warn Alicia immediately. Captain, this isn't empty, an agent insists. They're planning something. Alicia leans back, eyes steady. Then they'll learn something too, that dignity doesn't flinch. The next vigil arrives under heavy security. Riverton Plaza glows as always, candles flickering in the night breeze. Families gather, children chant, cameras roll. But tonight feels different. The air hums with tension. Alicia steps onto the stage, candle in hand, her voice strong. They think fear will scatter us. But look around, are we scattered? No, the crowd roars. They think threats will silence us. But are we silent? Never! The cheers rise, but then chaos erupts at the edge of the plaza. A smoke canister hisses, releasing a thick gray cloud. Screams pierce the night as people scatter. Panic ripples. FBI agents surge into action, rushing toward the disturbance. Brooks shouts, "Captain, down!" But Alicia doesn't move. She grips her candle tighter, standing tall on the stage. Through the smoke, figures move. One man tries to rush forward, but undercover agents tackle him instantly. Another throws a banner scrawled with hateful words, but it falls short, landing harmlessly in the crowd. The plaza quakes with fear, but Alicia raises her voice, cutting through the chaos. Do not run, do not bow. This is what arrogance does when it's dying. It thrashes, it screams, it hides in smoke. But smoke clears, and dignity remains. The crowd steadies. Families stop fleeing. People lift their candles high, refusing to let fear win. Agents drag away the attackers, cuffed and shouting. Cameras capture every moment. The live stream explodes, comments flooding. She didn't flinch. Candle against smoke. Dignity stands taller. By midnight, the footage dominates global news. Headlines read, "Attack fails at vigil. Monroe stands unbroken." Commentators call it, "The night dignity refused to bow." At headquarters, Brooks paces furiously. That was too close. Captain, they're escalating. We can't keep exposing you like this. Alicia shakes her head. Brooks, if I hid, tonight would have been their victory. But because we stood, it was theirs to lose. And they lost. The FBI confirms arrests. 5 men tied to extremist groups, some with law enforcement backgrounds. The plot was real, and it failed publicly. Yet Alicia knows it's not over. She sits alone in her office, candle flickering beside her, whispering, "They thought smoke could drown the fire, but the fire only burned brighter." Because arrogance thought chaos could break dignity. But dignity turned chaos into proof that it cannot be broken. The smoke clears, but its memory lingers. The failed attack at Riverton Plaza rattles the city, yet it also steals its resolve. By dawn, images of Alicia Monroe standing tall on stage with her candle circulate across the globe. Commentators call it a candle against chaos. At her apartment, Alicia watches the coverage with tired eyes. Marcus calls, his voice trembling. "You could have died last night." She answers calmly, though her heart is heavy. "But I didn't. And because I didn't, thousands saw that fear doesn't win." "Still," Marcus presses, "how much longer can you keep walking into the fire?" Alicia exhales slowly. "As long as it takes for the fire to become light." Meanwhile, in Washington, senators and representatives debate her reforms. Clips from the vigil play on the Senate floor. One senator rises and declares, "What happened in Atlanta is not just local, it is national. Captain Monroe is showing us a path to dignity." Civil rights groups praise her bravery. Editorials in national newspapers run headlines like "The Monroe Standard" and "Dignity's New Face." But critics grow louder too. Police unions double their attacks, calling her policies demoralizing and dangerous. One commentator sneers on live television, "She's a candle, yes, but one gust of wind and she's gone." Back at headquarters, Brooks briefs her on the aftermath. 5 men in custody, 3 with ties to Hale loyalists, 1 ex-officer, 1 linked to a militia group. They coordinated the smoke canister attack as a test. Alicia's eyes narrow. Then their test failed, and the whole world watched them fail. But Brooks shakes his head. They won't stop. If anything, this emboldens them. "We need to prepare for bigger." Alicia leans forward, steady. "Then we prepare, but we will not retreat." That evening, she holds another press conference. Reporters crowd the steps outside headquarters. Cameras click furiously as she speaks. "Last night, arrogance tried to choke us with smoke. But smoke clears, fear clears, dignity remains. To every extremist who thinks violence is strength, hear me clearly, you will fail, every time." The crowd erupts in applause. The footage trends instantly. Captions reading, "Had smoke clears, had dignity remains." But Alicia feels the toll. Late that night, she sits in her office alone, staring at the flicker of her candle. For the first time, her hands tremble. She whispers, "How many more nights like this? How many more before they break through?" Brooks finds her there, exhaustion etched on his own face. "Captain, you can't carry this alone." She looks up, voice weary. "I have to. If I fall, the whole movement falters." Brooks shakes his head firmly. "No, if you fall, the movement rises stronger, because you've already lit it in them. Don't forget that." The next day, the FBI expands operations. Surveillance intensifies. Raids target extremist hideouts, and several caches of weapons are seized. Agents confirm the plots were not isolated. They were building towards something larger. At a community town hall, Alicia addresses citizens directly. The gymnasium buzzes with tension, parents clutching children's hands. Alicia steps forward, speaking plainly. "They want you to believe we're unsafe. They want you to stay home, to silence your voices. But last night you proved them wrong. You held your candles, you stood your ground, and that courage is our shield." Applause breaks the tension. A young girl in the front row whispers, "She's not afraid?" Her mother answers softly, "She is, but she stands anyway. That's bravery." Meanwhile, in prison, Richard Hale watches the news from the common room. He smirks bitterly. "She thinks she's winning. She doesn't know the storm that's coming." Another inmate scoffs, "Your storm's a drizzle, man. She's bigger than you now." Hale's smile fades. He knows it's true, but arrogance keeps him clinging to the fantasy of relevance. Back in Atlanta, murals spread across the city. Artists paint Alicia's silhouette holding a candle against smoke. Children trace her words in chalk on playgrounds. Not invisible, strong. But beneath the celebration, tension simmers. FBI analysts uncover chatter about Phase 2. The details are vague, but the intent is clear. They aren't finished. Brooks brings the intel to Alicia. "Captain, we need to limit appearances until we know more. This isn't about silencing you. It's about keeping you alive." Alicia meets his gaze, resolute. "If I hide, they win. If I stand, even in danger, people see that fear doesn't rule us, and that matters more than my comfort." Brooks sighs, shaking his head. "You're impossible." She smiles faintly. "No, just unbreakable." That weekend, Riverton Plaza glows again. Families gather despite warnings, their candles flickering defiantly. Alicia steps onto the stage, her presence steady. They tried smoke, they tried fear, they will try again. But each time we will stand. Each time we will rise. And one day arrogance will learn that dignity does not bend. The crowd roars, chants echoing through the city, because arrogance thought smoke would smother dignity. But dignity turned smoke into light, and the fire burns brighter than ever. The smoke attack leaves scars on Atlanta's memory, but it also ignites something fiercer. The city is no longer just reacting, it's rallying. Vigils swell into marches. Community groups organize by neighborhood, creating patrols to protect gatherings. Ordinary citizens wear shirts emblazoned with Alicia Monroe's words, "Fear clears, dignity remains." Alicia feels the momentum, but also the weight. At headquarters, stacks of reports fill her desk. Threats intercepted, extremist forums tracked, intelligence updates. Each page is proof of the danger surrounding her, yet each candle lit in Riverton Plaza is proof that danger isn't winning. One morning, Brooks strides into her office, frustration written all over his face. "Captain, the FBI found chatter about explosives. They weren't just planning smoke canisters last time, they're escalating." Alicia leans back, steady. "Then we escalate our defenses, but we don't stop." Brooks throws up his hands. "You're risking everything." She meets his eyes firmly. "I know. But if I stop now, I'll lose something worse. Trust. And once that's gone, nothing we build survives." Meanwhile, the Dignity Index continues to ripple through the department. Citizens pore over updates weekly, discussing officer scores like sports stats. One mother beams as she tells a reporter, "I finally know which officers I can trust when my kids are outside." Inside locker rooms, however, resentment festers. A group of veterans huddle, bitter. "She's turned us into enemies of the people," one sneers. Another shakes his head. "No, she turned the cowards into enemies. The rest of us are just mad the mirror's too clear." The division is undeniable. Some officers begin openly supporting Alicia, proud of their high scores. Others talk of quitting. A few mutter darker things. One day Carter will regret this crusade. Late at night, Alicia sits on her balcony, the skyline glowing. Marcus joins her, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "Sis, you're carrying a city on your back," she exhales. "Some days it feels like I'm carrying its ghosts too." He studies her quietly. "And yet you don't bend." She smiles faintly. "If I bend, the movement breaks, and I won't give arrogance that satisfaction." The next week, Alicia launches community training councils. Civilians join officers in simulations, learning about use of force decisions while giving feedback. In one exercise, a high school student raises her hand. "Why do you always assume he's dangerous?" she asks an officer mid-drill. The officer hesitates, realizing his bias exposed. Alicia steps in. "That's the point. We see what we don't notice, and once we see it, we can change it." Clips of the exchange trend instantly, hatch once we see it. But danger circles closer. FBI agents intercept plans labeled Phase 2. Details remain vague, but they involve disruption at scale. Analysts warn they want spectacle, not silence. At headquarters, Brooks presses harder. "Captain, you need to let us move you into secure housing. You can't keep living in your apartment, you're too exposed." Alicia shakes her head. "If I hide in a fortress, I become untouchable. And if I'm untouchable, I stop being theirs. I can't lead from a tower." Brooks sighs, defeated. "Then at least let us fortify the apartment. Cameras, reinforced windows, panic systems." She nods reluctantly. "Fine, but only because it lets me keep the candle burning on my balcony." That Friday, another vigil fills Riverton Plaza. Families bring not only candles but lanterns, stringing them through the trees. The plaza glows like daylight, a defiant answer to the smoke attack. Alicia steps onto the stage, lantern light reflecting in her eyes. She lifts her candle. "They tried smoke. Tonight we give them light. They tried fear. Tonight we give them hope. They tried chaos. Tonight we give them unity. And with each attempt, we grow stronger." The roar of the crowd is deafening. Cameras capture children lifting lanterns high, voices chanting, "Not invisible, strong." But as the chants thunder, in a warehouse on the edge of the city, the extremists regroup. The man in the dark jacket slams his fist onto a table. "She's making fools of us. Every failure makes her stronger." One of his men mutters, "Then we don't fail next time. No smoke, no theatrics, something that rattles the city to its core." Silence follows. plans begin to form again. Back in her apartment, Alicia writes notes in her journal, a habit she rarely speaks of. She writes not for history, but for herself. Tonight the lanterns burned brighter than the smoke. Tonight the children believed again. Tonight arrogance lost another battle. She closes the journal, lights her balcony candle, and whispers, "Not invisible, strong." Because arrogance thought escalation would break dignity. But escalation only made dignity grow brighter, too bright to smother. The lantern vigil marks a turning point. What was once protest has become tradition, and Atlanta now carries itself with pride. Every Friday, Riverton Plaza glows, no matter the threats. Children race with candles in hand, families sing, and Alicia Monroe's words echo across the night sky. But in the shadows, Phase 2 brews. In a dim warehouse, Carter, the man in the dark jacket, paces like a caged wolf. His men sit around a table littered with maps, blueprints, and scraps of paper. One mutters, "Every time we strike, she turns it into a win." Smoke, arrests, even threats, they all made her stronger. Carter slams his palm on the table. "Then we don't give her a stage to flip. We strike harder. Something the cameras can't spin into dignity." Another asks nervously, "Explosives?" Carter shakes his head. "Too messy, too obvious. We need disruption, chaos, fear, but controlled. Something that rattles the city, makes them doubt her promise of safety." Plans sharpen. They circle the date of the next vigil. Meanwhile, Alicia juggles pressure on all sides. Reform expands, but critics sharpen their attacks. National pundits call her a radical in a uniform. Police unions accuse her of betraying the badge, yet she keeps moving. At headquarters, she gathers her staff. Charts cover the walls, complaints dropping, trust ratings soaring, officers with high dignity index scores celebrated. "We're proving change is possible," she tells them, "but arrogance isn't done. It's circling, waiting. And we cannot get complacent." Brooks leans forward. "Captain, FBI chatter suggests something bigger's coming. They're calling it Phase 2. That's not rhetoric, that's planning." Alicia nods grimly. "Then we prepare twice as hard." Still, she refuses to cancel vigils. If we stop, they win. If we stand, they lose. It's that simple. That evening, she attends a town hall at a packed church. Families fill the pews, candles glowing on the altar. A mother stands, voice trembling. "Captain Monroe, after what happened with the smoke, aren't you afraid to go back out there?" Alicia answers without hesitation. "Of course I'm afraid, but courage isn't the absence of fear, it's standing anyway. And if I don't stand, how can I ask you to?" The room erupts in applause. Phones capture it, clips trend instantly under "had her stand anyway." But in private, Alicia feels the toll. Late at night, she sits on her balcony, candle burning beside her. Marcus calls again. "Sis, you're human. Even steel bends. How long can you keep this up?" She gazes at the skyline, whispering, "As long as it takes for the city to learn it can stand without me." At the next vigil, security is heavier than ever. FBI agents line rooftops, plainclothes officers blend into the crowd, drones hover above. The plaza hums with both joy and unease. Alicia steps onto the stage, candle high. Her voice cuts through the night. "They tried smoke, and we answered with light. They tried fear, and we answered with courage. Tonight, we answer again. Because dignity does not bow, it burns brighter." The crowd cheers, chants booming. But halfway through, chaos erupts. A sudden surge at the edge of the crowd. Men in dark clothing push forward, tossing smoke bombs, shouting slurs. Panic ripples. Families scream. Brooks shouts into his radio, "Phase 2! Agents rush in, tackling the attackers, wrestling them to the ground. One man swings a pipe before being restrained. Another tries to set off a device, but it fizzles, neutralized before detonation. The plaza quakes with fear, but Alicia refuses to leave the stage. She grips her candle tighter, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Do not run! Do not bow! This is arrogance in its death throes. Loud, violent, desperate. But desperation is not power. Power is this." She lifts her candle higher. "Our light, our unity, our dignity." The crowd steadies. Families stop fleeing. One by one, candles rise again, glowing through the smoke. Agents drag the attackers away, cuffed and cursing. Cameras capture it all. By midnight, the footage spreads worldwide. Headlines read, "Phase 2 fails, candle stands strong." Back at headquarters, Brooks slams a report onto her desk. "That was too close. Captain, they're escalating faster than we can track. Alicia exhales, her voice calm but firm. Then we escalate our resolve, because every time they try, they only prove our point, that arrogance is weak and dignity cannot be broken. In prison, Richard Hale watches the news, his smirk fading. They can't even take out one woman, he mutters. Other inmates laugh. Face it, Hale. She buried you, and now she's burying them too. But in the warehouse, Carter fumes. Phase 2 failed. She stood again. But Phase 3 will not. Silence follows. Plans grow darker. Back at her apartment, Alicia writes in her journal, "Tonight they tried again. Tonight they failed again. Tonight Atlanta chose light over fear again." She closes it, lights her candle, and whispers, "Not invisible, strong." Because arrogance thought Phase 2 would shatter dignity. But Phase 2 only proved that dignity grows stronger under fire. Phase 2 fails, but its echo rattles the city. The news cycle explodes. Clips of smoke bombs, panicked families, and Alicia Monroe standing on stage with her candle raised high dominate every channel. Commentators call it, "The night fear was tested and lost." At Riverton Plaza, volunteers gather the next morning to clean up broken glass and scattered signs. Children help sweep, humming the chant that has become a battle cry. Not invisible, strong. For them, the plaza isn't a site of fear. It's proof that dignity always rises again. But in the warehouse, Carter seethes. He paces back and forth, his fists clenched. "She makes us look weaker every time we strike," he snarls. One of his men mutters, "Maybe we stop. It's not working." Carter spins on him, rage boiling. "No, we don't stop until she falls. Phase 3 will remind this city who holds the power." The man falls silent, fear in his eyes. Plans grow darker. Meanwhile, Alicia juggles reform with resilience. At headquarters, she briefs her staff. Charts show crime rates dipping, trust ratings soaring, complaints continuing to decline. "We're proving dignity works," she says firmly. But arrogance doesn't die easy. It thrashes before it falls. That's what last night was. Brooks stands beside her, expression grim. "Captain, intelligence says Phase 3 could involve explosives. This isn't smoke anymore. This is war." The room goes silent. Officers exchange worried glances. Alicia steadies her voice. "Then we prepare like warriors, but we do not hide. If we hide, they win before they strike." The FBI escalates its efforts, raiding multiple safe houses. Weapons are seized, computers confiscated. Arrests are made, but Carter slips through, always one step ahead. Agents warn Alicia that he is obsessed, relentless. At home, Marcus confronts her. "Sis, they're not just angry, they're dangerous. How many more nights do you plan to walk into their crosshairs?" Alicia's eyes soften. "As many as it takes until the city knows it doesn't need me to stand, until they can stand on their own." He shakes his head. "You're one person, Alicia. You can't carry this forever." She exhales slowly. "I don't need to. I just need to carry it long enough for dignity to become unshakable." That week, Alicia attends a rally at a university. Students pack the auditorium, waving candles and posters. When she takes the stage, the chants begin instantly. "Not invisible, strong." She raises her hand for silence. "You've heard the threats. You've seen the attacks. But look around. Did fear win? No, the students roar. Did arrogance win? Never." Her voice sharpens. "Then we've already won. Because dignity doesn't bow to bombs or smoke or threats. Dignity bows to nothing." The applause shakes the walls. Clips trend instantly. #dignity bows to nothing. But even as her words spread, Phase 3 draws near. FBI analysts intercept chatter. Final strike, maximum chaos, no more warnings. They rush the intel to Alicia. Brooks slams the folder on her desk. "Captain, this isn't speculation. They're planning something catastrophic. You need to cancel the next vigil." Alicia shakes her head firmly. "If we cancel, we teach fear that it works. I will not teach that lesson." Brooks grips the table. "Then at least let us control it. Metal detectors, barriers, drones, the works." She nods reluctantly. "Fine, but the candles stay. They will always stay." Friday arrives. Riverton Plaza is transformed. Security barriers line the edges. Drones buzz overhead. Snipers scan rooftops. Families file through checkpoints, candles still glowing in their hands. The air is tense but defiant. Alicia steps onto the stage, her presence steady. Cameras from across the world broadcast live. She lifts her candle high. "They promised Phase 3. They promised chaos, but tonight, we promise this: light. And light cannot be stopped. The crowd erupts, voices thundering, but Carter lurks nearby, watching from a rooftop. A duffel bag rests at his feet, wires coiled inside. He mutters, "Tonight she learns." His hands tremble, not with fear but with obsession. Down below, FBI agents scan the crowd. One spots movement on the rooftop. "Target sighted!" Radios crackle, snipers adjust, teams rush. Carter fumbles with the device, trying to connect wires. Suddenly, a spotlight blinds him. Shouts echo. "Hands up, now!" He curses, reaching for the trigger. A sharp crack echoes, the sound of a sniper's round striking the device. Sparks fly. Carter stumbles, disarmed, tackled by agents. The crowd below never sees the danger, only the light. Alicia keeps speaking, unaware of how close chaos came. Every time arrogance rises, dignity rises higher. Tonight, we rise together. Tonight, we prove again. Atlanta bows to no shadow. The plaza erupts in cheers, chants drowning out the echoes of the rooftop arrest. By midnight, headlines blaze. Phase 3 foiled, Monroe stands untouched. Analysts declare it the final death blow to arrogance. Commentators call it the night dignity defeated darkness. At headquarters, Brooks finally allows himself a smile. "Captain, we stopped them. Phase 3 is done." Alicia exhales, weary but resolute. "No, Brooks. Phase 3 failed. But arrogance never dies. It just waits. That's why dignity must never sleep. Because arrogance thought bombs could silence dignity. But bombs only proved how loud dignity had become. The foiling of Phase 3 ripples across the nation. News anchors replay the moment Carter was dragged from the rooftop, his failed device sparking in the night. Commentators call it the night arrogance imploded. Citizens marvel that Alicia Monroe continued her speech, never realizing how close destruction had come. But Alicia knows better. The FBI brief that lands on her desk the next morning outlines every detail. The duffel bag, the wires, the trigger Carter nearly pressed. She reads in silence, her jaw tight. Finally, she whispers, "If that sniper had missed..." Brooks, standing nearby, interrupts. "But they didn't, and you didn't flinch. That's what people will remember." Alicia looks up, eyes weary but sharp. "They'll remember the candle, but I'll remember how fragile the flame really is." Still, the city celebrates. Riverton Plaza becomes a monument. Murals bloom across walls, Alicia holding her candle high, light cutting through smoke. Children chalk her words on sidewalks. Dignity bows to nothing. In Washington, lawmakers take notice. Hearings begin on national police reform, citing Atlanta as the model. Senators invoke the Monroe Standard. Alicia is invited to testify before Congress. She hesitates, but Brooks urges her. "You've carried Atlanta. Now it's time to carry the nation." Meanwhile, Carter sits in a federal holding cell, wrists shackled. Agents interrogate him, demanding names of his backers. He spits bitterly, "You can cage me, but arrogance doesn't die. Someone else will carry it." His words echo hollowly. Even his fellow extremists abandon him. He has become a symbol, not of strength, but of failure. Back in Atlanta, Alicia prepares for her testimony. She reviews reports, outlines reforms, and reflects on the year's chaos. Marcus visits her apartment, worry etched across his face. "Sis, going to Washington makes you a bigger target. You sure you're ready?" She smiles faintly. "I was a target the day they cuffed me in that grocery store. Nothing's changed. The only difference is now the whole country's watching." The day arrives. In the marble halls of Congress, Alicia takes her seat before the committee. Cameras flash, reporters crowd the gallery. A senator leans into his microphone. "Captain Monroe, you've become the face of a movement. Tell us why Atlanta's model works." Alicia's voice is steady, her words precise. "Because arrogance cannot survive transparency. Because dignity is not weakness, it is strength. In Atlanta, we replaced fear with trust, silence with oversight, secrecy with sunlight. And the results speak for themselves." Gasps ripple as she presents data. Complaints down, trust up, crime falling. "Dignity makes us safer," she concludes. "Not just morally safer, but physically safer. When citizens trust us, communities thrive." The room erupts in applause. Clips trend instantly. Hashtag dignity makes us safer. But backlash flares too. Critics accuse her of federal overreach. Pundits sneer, calling her a media creation. Alicia answers calmly in an interview. If dignity is overreach, then let us all reach farther. Back in Atlanta, vigils continue weekly, but now they feel less like protests and more like celebrations. Families bring food, choirs sing, children play under the lanterns. Riverton Plaza has become the heartbeat of the city, yet Alicia doesn't relax. At headquarters, she expands reforms further. Merit-based promotions, civilian ride-alongs, youth cadet programs. She knows arrogance doesn't vanish, it waits. And she refuses to leave space for it to return. One evening, she visits a neighborhood mural unveiling. Children pull back a tarp to reveal her image, candle raised, with words painted boldly, "Not invisible. Strong." A girl tugs her sleeve. "Captain Monroe, do you ever get scared?" Alicia kneels, smiling softly. "All the time, but scared doesn't mean stopped. Do you understand?" The girl nods firmly. "Yes, scared but strong." The phrase spreads online, painted onto walls, written on posters. Scared but strong. Meanwhile, Carter's failed plot fractures extremist groups nationwide. Some abandon the cause, others fume in bitterness, but none can deny. Alicia Monroe stood unbroken, and their attempts made her stronger. Back in prison, Richard Hale hears the news on a scratchy TV. He mutters bitterly, "She turned every battle into victory. Even failure makes her stronger." Another inmate chuckles. "Sounds like you picked the wrong enemy." At home, Alicia writes in her journal again. "Tonight, a little girl told me scared can still be strong. Maybe that's the lesson I needed too. Courage isn't never fearing, it's standing anyway. And if she believes it, then dignity is safe in the next generation." She lights her balcony candle, staring at the city skyline. Because arrogance thought Phase 3 would end her, but all Phase 3 ended was arrogance itself. And dignity now stood taller than ever, ready to shape a nation. Alicia Monroe's testimony in Washington ripples far beyond the Capitol. News outlets replay her words on loop. Dignity makes us safer. Editorials declare it the clearest case for reform in decades. In neighborhoods across America, vigils spring up spontaneously. Small gatherings of families with candles, echoing Atlanta's tradition. But praise isn't universal. Police unions double their attacks, accusing Alicia of destroying morale. On talk shows, critics sneer. "She's a candle," one pundit says, "but candles burn out." The clip circulates, but supporters twist it, posting images of cities glowing with thousands of candles under the caption, #We don't burn out. Back in Atlanta, Riverton Plaza glows brighter than ever. Every Friday, the square transforms into a sea of light. But now, it isn't just about Atlanta, it's about the nation. Travelers arrive from other states just to join the vigil, carrying signs reading, "We came for dignity." At headquarters, Alicia pushes forward with reforms. The community training councils expand, involving schools, businesses, and faith groups. Youth cadet programs swell with applicants. Complaints continue to fall. Officers with high dignity index scores are publicly recognized, celebrated as role models. Brooks briefs her one morning, "Captain, national applications for cadet programs are spiking. Other cities are copying our model. They're calling it the Carter Blueprint." Alicia shakes her head softly. "It's not mine, Brooks. It belongs to the people. I just refuse to stay silent." Still, shadows stir. FBI analysts warn of splinter groups forming in response to her rising influence. "They see her as a threat to everything they stand for," one agent tells her. "They'll keep trying." Alicia answers calmly. "Then they'll keep failing. Every attempt makes us louder." Meanwhile, in prison, Carter stews in isolation. His failed rooftop plot has left him disgraced even among extremists. He paces his cell muttering, "She made me look weak." Guards ignore him, inmates mock him. He is a relic, arrogance stripped bare, yet others outside still cling to his anger. Online, whispers continue, plans form, threats circulate. Brooks warns Alicia, "They're not done. They're wounded, but wounded animals bite hardest." She nods. "Then we don't give them shadows to hide in. We shine brighter." That evening, Alicia attends a vigil larger than any before. Tens of thousands crowd Riverton Plaza, candles glowing like a galaxy. Drones capture sweeping aerial shots. Atlanta shimmering with light. Alicia steps onto the stage, candle raised. Her voice booms across the plaza. "They said we would burn out. Look around you. Does this look like a flame dying?" "No!" the crowd roars. "Does this look like fear winning?" "Never!" "Then hear me, Atlanta. Hear me, America. Dignity doesn't fade, it multiplies. Tonight, our light is seen across the world, and arrogance has nowhere left to hide. The plaza shakes with cheers, chants thunder into the night. Clips trend worldwide under how light multiplies. But behind the celebration, Alicia feels the toll. Late at night, she sits in her office alone, exhaustion weighing on her. She flips through her journal, writing, "The nation is watching. The fire spreads. But how long can one candle stand in the wind?" Brooks finds her there, voice soft. "Captain, you don't have to hold the candle alone anymore. Look outside, they're carrying it too." She glances out the window at the glowing plaza, families chanting, children laughing. For the first time, she allows herself a smile. Maybe you're right. Meanwhile, in Washington, lawmakers draft the National Dignity Act. Inspired by Atlanta, it proposes civilian oversight, transparency, and training reforms nationwide. Critics call it radical. Supporters call it overdue. Either way, Alicia's name is tied to it forever. At the next vigil, she announces it to the crowd. "They said our light would stay in Atlanta. They were wrong. Tonight it shines in Congress. Tonight it shines across the nation." The roar is deafening. Cameras beam her words to millions. Because arrogance thought candles would fade, but candles became lanterns. Lanterns became bonfires, and dignity became unstoppable. And now, the flame Alicia lit was no longer hers. It belonged to the nation. The announcement of the National Dignity Act sends shockwaves through the country. News anchors debate it non-stop. Some hail it as a turning point, others deride it as a dangerous experiment. In living rooms, families argue over dinner tables. On the streets, marches of support spring up in city after city. In Atlanta, Riverton Plaza becomes the epicenter. Murals multiply, lanterns glow nightly, and families pour in from across the nation. What began as a protest square is now a monument. Children play tag under banners that read, "Dignity lives here." At headquarters, Alicia studies reports. Applications for cadet programs triple, complaints plummet, but along with progress come fresh threats. Brooks lays a folder on her desk. "Captain, extremist chatter is rising again. They call you the face of surrender. They see the act as your victory and their final loss." Alicia doesn't flinch. "Then they're right, it is their loss, but it's not mine, it belongs to the people." Still, the FBI urges caution. "Phase 4, one agent warns. They'll try something to stop the act from passing. You're their symbol, their target." That evening, Alicia walks the plaza quietly, away from cameras. She sees families lighting candles, teenagers filming TikToks about dignity, musicians playing guitars under the lanterns. A boy approaches shyly. "Captain Monroe, my mom says you made her feel safe again." Alicia kneels, smiling. "Then your mom is why I keep standing." The boy grins, holding up his candle. "We'll stand too." Her heart swells. She whispers, "That's how we win." But elsewhere, Carter seethes in custody. From behind glass, he shouts during a hearing, "She's poisoning the badge! You're all blind!" His words echo hollowly. Judges dismiss him, reporters capture his rant as evidence of arrogance collapsing under its own weight. Meanwhile, Hale watches from his prison cell. He mutters, "She turned every battle into victory." Other inmates laugh. "Face it, Hale. She buried you, then buried him. She's untouchable." But Alicia doesn't feel untouchable. In her journal, she writes, "The bigger the flame, the darker the shadows that chase it. They will try again, but so will we." The next vigil is the largest yet. Tens of thousands flood the plaza. News helicopters hover, capturing the spectacle. From the stage, Alicia raises her candle high. "They said dignity was a flicker. Look around you, it's a fire. They said fear would silence us, but fear has no voice here. Tonight, we show the world what happens when people choose courage over chaos." The roar is deafening. Families chant, children wave lanterns, cameras beam it worldwide. But in a warehouse miles away, a handful of extremists watch the broadcast bitterly. One snarls, "Every time she speaks, she wins." Another mutters, "Then we silence her once and for all." Plans form. Back at headquarters, Brooks paces Alicia's office. "Captain, intelligence confirms chatter about Phase 4. Bigger, deadlier. They're desperate." Alicia nods calmly. "Desperation is weakness, but weakness can still wound. We prepare, but we will not cancel." Brooks slams his fist on the desk. "You're human, Alicia. You can't carry this forever." Her voice softens. I don't have to carry it forever. I just have to carry it long enough for others to carry it too. That Friday, Riverton Plaza glows again. Security is tighter than ever. Metal detectors, drones, undercover agents. Still, families flood in, candles burning. Alicia steps onto the stage, voice steady. They plan Phase 4. They plan chaos. But what they forget is this. Dignity doesn't plan. It lives. And living light cannot be stopped. The crowd erupts. Chants shake the city. Cameras beam her words to millions. Because arrogance thought national reform would be its grave. But arrogance doesn't die quietly. And as the act moves closer to law, dignity prepares for its hardest battle yet. The weeks leading up to the National Dignity Act vote feel like a storm. In Washington, lawmakers argue fiercely. On cable news, voices clash, some warning of chaos, others calling it salvation. Across America, citizens march with candles in hand. The flame Alicia Monroe lit in Atlanta now burns in every state. But the extremists refuse to fade. FBI analysts track Phase 4 chatter, encrypted messages, dark web forums, whispers of a final attempt to stop Alicia. Agents warn her daily, Captain, they want spectacle. They want fear on the night the act passes. Alicia never bends. Then we answer with light. Fear will not write this ending. The final vigil before the vote draws record crowds. Riverton Plaza overflows, lanterns strung high, candles flickering in every hand. Helicopters hover above, cameras broadcasting live to the world. Alicia steps onto the stage, her candle burning steady. Brooks and her FBI detail watch nervously, scanning rooftops and alleys. But her voice cuts through the tension like steel. They promised smoke, they promised bombs, they promised chaos. And each time they failed. Tonight, they promise Phase 4. But let me tell you what we promise. We promise light. And light does not bow. The crowd roars, thunderous and unshakable. Then it happens. A commotion at the edge of the plaza. Men in dark clothing push forward, trying to rush the stage. One raises a device. Panic ripples. But the response is instant. Undercover agents tackle the attackers before they reach the barriers. The device clatters to the ground, harmless. The crowd gasps, then steadies. Alicia doesn't move. She raises her candle higher. This is what desperation looks like. This is what arrogance does when it knows it has lost. And tonight, it loses again. The roar that follows shakes the city. Families lift candles, children chant, cameras beam it live. Across the nation, people watching from their living rooms rise to their feet, candles in hand. By midnight, headlines scream, Phase 4 foiled, Monroe unbroken. Commentators declare it the end of the extremist threat. Civil rights leaders call it the night dignity buried arrogance. Days later, Congress passes the National Dignity Act. In a historic ceremony, the president signs it into law, citing Atlanta as the spark. Reporters ask Alicia for a statement. She answers simply, "This was never about me. It was about every person who was told they didn't belong." Tonight,